This is lesson 2.2 on measuring and constructing angles. Now, the first part will focus on just constructing angles. So before you watch this video, make sure you have the 2.2 angles worksheet in front of you, along with a pencil, eraser, and a protractor. So if you need to pause the video to get those items, please do that now. Otherwise, I am going to continue. So let's start off with reviewing some vocabulary from last day. So you can take a highlighter or underline the definition of angles. So we know an angle is formed by two rays with the same endpoint. The endpoint is called the vertex. An angle ABC is below. So a couple of things to note. Whenever you're drawing an angle, and you can correct this please on your sheet. I couldn't get this on the computer. Make sure you always have a vertex marked. I'll be looking for that. Along with that curved line, and this curved line is important because it indicates if an angle is acute, obtuse, or reflex. So make sure that your angle is properly drawn with the two rays with the arrows, the vertex mark, and the curved line wherever it needs to be located. Should always name your angle with the letters. Now we're just using ABC here. Proper notation for naming angles, the preference is by three letters, ABC, or it could be angle CBA. Note that the middle letter is always the vertex. That's why you could name it CBA as well. So just make sure whenever you're naming an angle, that middle letter is the vertex. Okay, so let's begin with drawing some angles here. So let's start off with the acute angle. And again, this was introduced last class. So knowing that an acute angle, we can tell an angle is acute because it measures greater than 0 but less than 90 degrees. So you should be able to tell me and identify what an acute angle is just by looking at it. Now, the tricky thing is if something's 91 degrees, technically it's obtuse. And if it's 89 degrees, technically it's acute. But generally, you should be able to identify those. So the first steps in using your protractor are the following. What you're going to do is you're going to take your protractor. I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger so you can see the numbers here. Okay. You're going to take your protractor and take your pencil, and on the straight edge portion of the protractor, you're going to draw a straight line about that length, okay, about half the length of the protractor. Now, I tend to draw my angles opening up to the right-hand side. So that's the example I will do. I will also do an angle opening up to the left-hand side so you can see what it looks like there. But you're going to follow generally the same process. So again, take your protractor, do a straight line on the bottom so you're using that straight edge. Okay. Now, I need to tell you the size of angle that you're drawing. Let's do an example of an acute angle. So we're going to go, let's do angle ABC, and you're going to draw a 50-degree angle. Okay. Now, whenever you're drawing or measuring angles, I like to give a 3-degree allowance of error. So you can be plus or minus 3 degrees when you're measuring or when you're constructing an angle. So when you're drawing it, again, you have your straight line, and let's say that's the bottom of our angle or the bottom ray, okay? So what you're going to do as well, and I'm just going to take this away. Remember, always indicate a vertex, okay? And start off your ray as well. You need to indicate that with an arrow. So we're going to build angle ABC at 50 degrees. So you're going to take your protractor, and what you're going to do next, before I lay this on top here, note where the 0-degree line is on your protractor, because some protractors are different from each other. Note where that 0-degree line is. Usually lines up with the 181, and what you'll see, and I'm just going to draw it here, it's this line here, so you're looking for this 0-degree line, okay? Identify that now. And I'm going to erase this. Once you've identified that 0-degree line, you're going to take your protractor and you're going to make sure that first of all, this circle and cross here, that should line up with the vertex, okay? So locate that as well. Again, that's on your 0 degree line. Okay, and I'm going to erase this. So I'm going to place, and see where I'm placing my protractor? This bottom line that I just drew is right, the protractor is right on top of it where 0 degrees is. So note, does your protractor, is it lined up where it should be? It should be right on top of that 0 degree line. And you should actually see, the line that you've drawn right underneath it, okay? It's really important you line it up properly because you want to be as accurate as possible. Okay, so then what you're going to do, because like I said, I tend to open up my angles to the right-hand side, I'm going to just focus on this side of the protractor, okay? So I need 50 degrees. Well, where is 50 degrees? I'm going to be looking at the bottom set of numbers on the right-hand side because I know I'm drawing an acute angle, because I know that an acute angle is between 0 and 90 degrees. Now, where's 50 degrees? It's right here. So it's actually right below the 130 degree mark, which is fine. You're going to take your pencil and you're going to do a mark right there to indicate that's where 50 degrees is. Okay, so take the time to do that now. Now I'm just going to erase all of this so it doesn't get confusing. Okay, here's your next step. What you're going to do now is you're going to take your protractor away, and you're going to have to turn it because you need to use that straight edge portion, and you're going to take it so that it lines up your vertex. I'll just point out your vertex that you drew here, and I'll make mine more obvious. The vertex that you drew here on your bottom ray and the line you drew to mark where 50 degrees is, this should line up so that when you're drawing your line here, right against the edge of your protractor, the straight edge, you've drawn your angle, okay? Now, if you need to see that step again, I would encourage you to just pause it and replay it. You need to finish off naming and labeling it properly. So you're gonna have another arrow there. You're gonna label this A, B has to be the vertex because it's the middle letter, and C. The curved line is really important, so make sure you're marking that on the inside of the angle. And I like to say 50 degrees here. Okay, so that's the process in constructing an angle. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like on the other side really quickly here. So again, I'm just showing you what it looks like on the other side if you open it up to the left. So here I've drawn my bottom ray already. I've taken the straight edge of my protractor, I've drawn it. So again, same steps as before. You're going to take your protractor, you're going to locate 0 degrees on the bottom. Now this time on the left-hand side, that's where it's located. So you just have to identify it. Again, it's really crucial that you line it up properly. I'm just going to erase this so it doesn't get too messy. And I'm going to take my protractor and I'm going to place it right on top of the line that I just drew so that it matches up with the 0 degree line. Now this time on the on the left-hand side of a protractor, I'm going to look at the measurements associated with an acute angle. So I'm only looking at the measurements between 0 and 90 degrees. So around here, okay? This time it's on the top, all right? So, and don't be thrown off by this. All you're concerned about is making sure that you're looking at the right set of measurements. So always ask yourself, am I drawing an acute or an obtuse angle? So you're drawing an acute angle. 50 degrees is right here approximately, yeah. And then I'm just going to erase this part here. Let me draw my 50 degrees, okay. And then you're going to take the protractor away. And then you're just going to turn it again. And again, the same thing, you just want to make sure I might have to do this a little bit smaller here. So I've turned my protractor, I've matched it up as best as I can, the vertex that I've drawn to the marking at 50 degrees, and I'm going to draw my straight line against the edge of the protractor, and then I'm going to take it away and do my associated markings, my ray there. I'll fix the arrow there. There, I want this to be A, B, C, and that's going to be 50 degrees. So that's how you draw an acute angle. Now for the next examples, I'm not going to open them up on both sides. I just wanted you to see what happens if you open it up to the left. It's again the same process. You just have to make sure you're looking at the correct set of degrees on the protractor. Okay, next we're looking at an obtuse angle. So an obtuse angle, if you remember from last day and the definition, it's an angle that measures greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to construct an angle CDE that measures 160 degrees. And here's a challenge for you. If you want to go ahead and do this on your own, go ahead and pause the recording and then just catch up afterwards. Now, I'm going to continue with this. So I'm going to take my protractor here, and again, follow the same process as before. I'm just going to scooch up here. Okay, you're going to take the protractor and then you're going to do your straight edge along the bottom to indicate your bottom ray. I'm going to take this away because what I need to do is I need to mark it up before I do anything else. You need your vertex and you need your ray there. Now, putting your protractor back, remember, make sure it's 0 is right on top of it. Okay, again, it's important to line up your angles properly. Now, in this case, I'm looking for 160 degrees. Remember that you're drawing an obtuse angle. So the measurements you're looking at, they have to be between 90 and 180 degrees. Now, because I know it has to be bigger than 90 degrees and I'm opening it up to the right, I'm actually going to look at the set of numbers here on the left-hand side. Okay, because I want it to be an obtuse angle, right? It has to be greater than 90. So I'm looking for where 160 degrees is. So it's right here, and indicate that on your page by putting a mark right where 160 degrees is. Okay, so you do the same thing as well. Now I'm going to take this and erase this so it's not confusing. Same process as before. You're going to take your protractor, You're going to take your protractor and you're going to line up again your vertex with that. You're going to draw your straight line. So the vertex and the marking match up. I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. All right. Again, you have a 3-degree allowance. Now, here you're going to finish off your markings here. Remember that curved line on the inside is so important because it indicates you're looking at the obtuse angle. You're going to label it C, D, E, and it's going to be 160 degrees. So that's an example of an obtuse angle. Just always think, if you get confused about which numbers to look at your protractor, ask yourself, am I drawing an acute angle or am I drawing an obtuse angle? Okay, you know it's acute if you're looking at the numbers between 0 and 90. You know you're looking at an obtuse angle if you're looking at the numbers between 90 and 180 degrees. Now, I'm going to pause the recording here. You need to watch part 2 where we cover a reflex angle, a straight angle, and a right angle. Okay, so make sure you watch part 2 of this video next.